So now I'd like to invite Dato Yasmin Mahmood.
I will be covering two parts. The first one is to just take this whole discussion to one level higher, which is talk about big data analytics. The second part is we'll go into open data, especially the specific initiatives that we are working with the relevant ministries in the government to drive Malaysia towards an open data, innovation-driven society and economy. So let us first get into some common definition of what big data is. And I apologize for those who may be experts. This may be a bit basic, but this is what BDA is all about. It has to have the four definitions, the four V's or the 5 V's, as people in the industry says it. First of all, it has to, it is about the growing volume of data. The last 2 years alone, and for me, I have been in the industry I'm shameful to say this because it's like 3 decades. I've always been in the private sector, and the last 1 year, I've taken on the role of the CEO of MDeC. And as they say, Dato, this is the best, the most exciting of times to join government. Now, perhaps before I get into the subject matter itself, the audience here, I think, may not be familiar with what MDeC does, although I think both Dato as well as Antonio has mentioned about MDeC. So MDeC is basically, we are mandated to champion the digital economy of the country. And our role can be categorized into 2 big buckets. The first one is about developing the industry. And this covers bringing in investments, foreign direct investments, as well as domestic investments. This is a very big part of what we do. Last year alone, for instance, we brought in investments worth 20 billion ringgit, and a big chunk of it were reinvestments. There are now 3,700 MSC companies. And MSC, as some of you may know, it has started almost 20 years ago in 1996, and it comes with it a set of 10 bills of guarantee to promote investments into Malaysia. So bringing investments is one big part of what we do. This covers, like I mentioned, FDI as well as DDI. The other big part is the startup ecosystem. We used to do this, but now with MDeC on board, we have handed that over to MDeC. There's a lot of question about this MDeC role and MDeC overlap. It could overlap, but we make a conscious decision to not overlap. So MDeC now is driving the startup ecosystem, and we are driving more of this scale-up ecosystem. There are not enough companies, big companies, ICT-based companies. We have the few who are like the Silver Lakes and the MOLs of the world. But what we want to drive, one of the key bets of MDeC this moving forward, is to really build a lot more of these big companies. On the other hand, the other big bucket of what we do is to really drive the adoption of technology innovation in government as well as in businesses and in citizens. Now, the big wave of innovation that's coming on board is this wave about big data analytics. So let me go back to this slide. So the big data, BDA, has got these 5 V's. So first of all, the volume of the data. 90% of the data generated was only over in the last 2 years. And things like YouTube plays a very big part of it. The other part is that the increasing velocity of data. Data changes, the dynamism of the data is becoming so huge. 175,000 tweets per second. As I speak now, there is more than close to 400,000 of tweets that has been generated. Variety as well. Now, data used to be enterprise data, whatever that companies or government has within its control. But it has now moved over. Social media now has become the biggest supply or biggest source of data. And the last part is also very important, veracity of data. Now, veracity is a combination. It comes in because of the accuracy of the data. When you read something, because of the dynamism of the data, it may not be relevant anymore. In 1 second, the data is 1 point, the next second is another point. And there are many, many sources of data. So having the accuracy, trying to judge the accuracy of this is what big data analytics professionals or data scientists are tasked to do. And the last V is the most important V. It is about how do we turn this data into value. Now, the big data industry in itself is worth, at the global level, as of last year, it's about 250 billion US dollars. In Malaysia alone, by the year 2018, it is forecasted that the value of the market will be coming to close to 1 billion ringgit. So there's a lot of opportunities from the industry development itself. That is the supply of the products and services to garner or to turn this massive amount of data into value. But at the same time, what we are seeing now is that the value of the data can be unlocked is far beyond the potential of the products and services in the BDA industry itself. Now, just some examples. The oil and gas industry, where Malaysia is a very big player in, it is forecasted, McKinsey has forecasted that, or has simulated that if big data is being used, big data analytics, BDA, is being used throughout the whole process of the industry in oil and gas, it will yield 30 billion ringgit worth of value in terms of savings, in terms of additional revenue generated. And the worldwide, the global annual value that is forecasted to be realized out of data is worth 3 trillion US dollars. So that is the impact of what data can bring. And the next one is, I just want to give you a sense of big data, as well as, in this case, open data. Now, the UK, and I'm so glad that we have the representation from UK today, because when MDeC, when we knew that we had to use big data, we had to get BDA to be adopted in a big way for the country so that this innovation can be fully leveraged. We scan the world and we look at who is doing the best, and UK comes out really strongly. In the world of, in the open data barometer, which I think Her Excellency mentioned in her speech earlier, that there is this worldwide barometer. UK is ranked #1. UK does not necessarily have the highest number of open data sets, but they are ranked in #1 because of the value in which the data set has created. And this is a simple example. This is where opening up of UK transport data, there were 400 apps being created by the public. And as mentioned earlier, this is where the government doesn't have to really invest in all of the services for the citizens. And by just simply opening up the data sets of transportation, this is where the whole startup ecosystem comes on board and really are able to leverage on these data sets to create solutions and applications that are specific for the citizens. And this would entail, putting these data sets, combining with, let's say, dentists, dentist availability data sets, and being able to tell, based on your budget, based on where you are, the location, taken from GPS settings, how best do you go there in the shortest time possible, taking what kind of public transportation. So it could be as simple as that. Now the next slide I want to show is, apart from looking at the existing open data. Now, I know this picture would get your attention. This is simply looking into, I mentioned about oil and gas. These are all very big, very things that are enterprise type of innovation. But in our world, just to show you an example of how data, and this is about moving from big data analytics towards this data economy. Now, the Facebooks, the Amazons of the world, what they are doing is to really collecting information, data. They have data about your whereabouts, what you like, what you don't like. And that data, when it's anomalized, which means that it has to be anomalized so that it does not invade into the personal privacy, when it's anomalized, can bring a lot of information that will be used for advertising and so on. Now, what's happening with fashion? And because I'm a woman and I like fashion, and I really was taken in by the fact that there is now a platform. It is one of the hottest startups in Silicon Valley. I can't remember what it's called, but it is one of the hottest startups. And they are collecting our body fit. And this is done simply by asking some questions, about a set of 19 questions, but it's also going to a point where they are developing devices in which you can scan. So you know why this is being used? Because in online shopping right now, which is one of the biggest, and fashion is a very big online shopping phenomena, there is 25% return rate because fit, wrong fit. Now, can you imagine if I were able to come in and say, this is my body fit ID, and please send me the best fit for my body fit. I would not only pay to be able to do that, but can you imagine the fashion people would then be paying as well for that data set, because they want to be able to manufacture based on the kind of data sets, and they can also get into customized manufacturing of this. So this is an example of something so simple in our day-to-day life, but getting into data sets and getting into clusters of data. This is going to be where the new world is going to be. This is where the economic differentiation between organizations, and this is where the startup ecosystem is really driving towards. Now we go to the next slide. I mentioned about this. Yeah, this is the next digital platform that talks about clothing, retail apparel, talks about medical engineering, fitness tracking, and so on. So this is a race towards data platform. Now, next slide. Okay, I want to shift gear now to talk about what Malaysia is doing. We have, as Dato mentioned just now, MDeC has spearheaded, and we have now gotten the endorsement on this big data BDA national framework. It has got 5 components in it, but I will not go into all the 5 components. I'll just go into the 3 with focus on the second part, which is about open data. But I cannot talk about this without talking about the critical component of driving BDA or driving open data value, which is the people, the talent. This is about creating the data scientists. There is a global rush for data scientists. In Malaysia, our existing, last year we had a bit of, we had a snapshot of where we are in terms of data scientists volume. We have 70. We have quite a number of good companies who are global players in the likes of FusionX and so on. These are locally made, local Malaysian companies who have, gone global. But there's only 70 data scientists. And data scientists, there's many definitions. I'm talking about the high end, the data modelers and data simulators. There's only 70 right now, and by 2020, we want to get to 1,500. Singapore, as well as US, they also have 190,000 of data scientists shortage right now. And how we're doing it, it is a combination of the traditional method to get the universities to apply data science in their, to offer data science in their courses. But what's interesting to note is that the way to develop data scientists also is going through an innovation. Like, for instance, there is something called data scientist incubators. Can you imagine that you would be able to, if you are a business insight, or you are an engineer, or you're an accountant, you're a marketeer, you'll be able to get into an incubator for about 7 weeks, and you will come out as a data scientist, an enterprise data scientist, not necessarily somebody who is able to do mathematical data modeling, but somebody who's able to use the tools and to apply data analytics, which covers not only the diagnostic part of data analytics, but more importantly, going into the predictive. So how you can use existing data. In the past, we've only looked at data in, what has happened and why it has happened. Now is to go into the predictive side. Based on what's been happening, here's how you could possibly predict, what will happen, and also going into prescriptive analytics. So this is the data scientist, which is very important. And currently, we have partnerships with the data incubator, as well as doing a Coursera MOOCs type of blended learning. So that is on talent development. Now, the next part I want to mention is about the unlocking the value of open data. Now, last year, we started this initiative, and we had the mandate from the government, the leadership of the government, to say that open data is officially adopted by the government of Malaysia. However, it is subjected to the data categories. So there are 5 categories of data within government. The highest one being rahsia, of course. The lowest one being data terbuka. It is mandated that all of data terbuka has to be put into open data format. And open data format we have our open data platform, which is run by Mampu, and it is called data.gov.my. Currently, there are 300 plus data sets, and these are supplied by, I think it's 14 ministries, including Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Finance, and so on. So the first step has been taken. And I say it's a first step because there are still a lot of steps. We're still at the infant stages of this. But what's encouraging is the fact that the infrastructure is there, because Mampu actually does this. Mampu actually monitors this. We have partnered with ODI from the UK. We have an MOU with them to do the collaboration. In fact, this year, just after doing about 6 months worth of effort to drive this up, we are very pleased to say that UK is number 1 in that open data barometer. We are number 41. For the first time, we were ranked. We were nowhere before that, but we were ranked. So, like I said, small step. It's a small step, but we will get there. Now, and the challenge is about the mindset change, it's the culture change. Although there is the policy to say that data is terbuka, but still there is a lot of resistance to say that from the government officers to really even to put in the terbuka, the terbuka into the opendata.gov.my or data.gov.my, and the reason is because of the whole transparency of it. So the moment that you go inside there, although the data is not sensitive, but the accuracy of it, the fact that they'll be subjected to the veracity of the data. Somebody will be going there and say that, okay, this set of data, but when you link it to another set of data, it doesn't jive. So this is where the fear is. So what we're doing now is taking steps. I mean, of course, it's really. I would love to go out there and make it a mandate, but it is possible to make it a mandate, but it will not be sustainable. So what we do is to really work with them, open data champions. We are creating open data champions amongst the government ministries. We have 11 of them right now, and we're going to work to get more quality data, number 1. Although there are 238 data sets, we need to get it to a lot more. I think UK has got how many thousand did you say? 27,000, yes? So we still have a long way to go, and the quality of the data sets as well has got a lot of room to be improved. But the data set is once we get to where we are, we need to ensure also that it is being converted into value. The culture of that government needs to do services, applications for citizens by themselves. It's something that we also need to break, Dato, because when we talk to government departments and we encourage this thing called hackathons. So we take, let's say, Ministry of Agriculture, and this is their open data sets, and we'll put them together with a group of entrepreneurs and solution developers. Then they will work together to come up with applications. Now, since these are simple applications, for instance, we had our what we call it, Big App Challenge, which we drive, and we had companies coming together to just do a dengue health index by taking data from Ministry of Health about the dengue cases, taking construction sites development, and putting that together to be able to show to the public that, okay, you have got a higher risk of data. But we are also now saying that, okay, this is an app, but it has to be in a way the Ministry of Health is also developing their own app. So what we are trying to change is the mindset where let's work with the industry. You open up the data and let the industry, let the people do apps, do solutions based on what they think they need. And that is a mindset change which we are trying to drive. But that comes under the third portion, which is spurring the industry. Not only it helps government to not do everything themselves, but it also provides a huge opportunity to the startup ecosystem. Because this is where they can monetize it by providing services and applications that really meets the requirement of the users. This is where they can also, monetize it or commercialize it. And in a way, it also reduces the spending of the government, so that the government doesn't have to do all the applications themselves.
Sorry,
okay, so
we have 2 more.
I'm going to close. I wanted to talk about this thing called the Internet Minute. you know, the internet minute. And this is where it will give you a sense of how this data explosion is even going to be more phenomenal. In one internet minute, there are 6 million Facebook views, 2+ million search queries, and YouTube, there's 1.3 million video views. And there's a lot more. So one internet minute, so data is redefining even time for us. So with that, thank you so much. And I'm sorry I overran. Thank you.